I'm a solution architect here at Megaport. I'm up in the Pacific Northwest, side of Portland, Oregon, in the wonderful state of Washington. Today's what we're going to go over are the nuances of all of our connections to the cloud service providers, or as we call them, CSPs. I'm going to go over the big three. Maybe we'll get to Oracle. We'll see how far we get. And what I'm going to be doing is connecting these connections to a MCR, just to show you the differences in how our APIs work. And it's not like we did them differently. It's what I'm showing you is the different product rules we live by, and all the service providers that connect to the clouds live by with the cloud service providers. So, if you go back 10 years ago, the clouds started creating their network, their data centers, and they had to get customers on the network, right? And there's two ways to do it: privately and publicly, internet and privately. Oop. What is that noise? Oh, that was fun. All right. Hopefully, whatever that happened, you're safe. We'll get back to the presentation. So if you go back 10 years again, so what on the private side, what happened is the cloud service providers would pick, their data centers are not in, some of them are in the big metro, some of them are not, right? So they picked a couple locations in a big metro and said, I'm going to meet me here, service providers, so you can get people connected privately to the network, right? So that's what they did, right? So they picked a data center, they picked up a port, and that's what you're seeing here is we have predefined connections, or NNIs, network to network interfaces, that are connected to these cloud service providers at the data center they've chosen. What we do as Megaport and others is we extend that network to the customer, not only in that metro, but outside the metro, right? So these are connected, dialed up connections to the clouds, ready to be consumed, with the advantage of API automation that gets you through the noise of all this. And the noise is, one carrier does it this way, one CSP does it this way, one CSP does it that way. So there are different speeds. So on AWS, the highest speed you can get on these types of connections is 25 gig. Azure is at 10. We may see that grow over time, right? So every sort of area is a little different. Again, don't worry about it. We've automated that as much as possible. But again, the idea is every cloud service provider has a different set of rules, and I'm going over the nuances and how that works from setting up from an MCR. One thing I also want to note is these are all these predefined connections, right? Nailed up to their, our networks connect network, lights are on, APIs are ready, you can consume all this stuff in a minute. Every one of these clouds you can connect, and I'm not going to go over this. You can connect from a dedicated perspective. What does dedicated mean, Matt? Dedicated means I am physically connecting a port on a network to these service providers. It means you're waiting for a cross connect. It means you're waiting for a private line. And the reason why you do dedicated is you need something more than 25 gigs or 10 gigs, respectfully, and you need MACsec encryption, which is layer 2 encryption. So we can deliver a dedicated solution. I'm not going to go over that because I can't automate those pieces. Those are fundamentally you're ordering services and waiting for things to happen, like a cross connect or a private line, and you're dedicating that connection specifically for cloud service provider 1 or 2, right? A, B. The other nuance I want to go over that adds a bit of confusion is AWS has 2 connection types. I'm going to go actually a third. AWS has 2 connection types. They have a hosted connection, hosted VIS. What's the difference? Hosted connection is the go forward product for AWS. That's why you see they offer a 25 gig speed. Hosted VIF was their older solution. It's sort of their legacy solution. We see most customers that are buying connections with AWS they're going hosted. It adds some additional features in terms of you can do transit gateways, etc. So if you're new to consuming direct connects, hosted connection likely is the way to go. One thing I want to call out is Azure does something different. They do this thing called Q and Q, and no one else does Q and Q. We have ways to work around that as well. All you're doing is with Azure is what I mean. What the reason why they do Q and Q is when you buy an express route, you get 2 circuits, and that's the need for Q and Q. The MCR gets through, optimizes that Q and Q configuration that can be complicated if you're doing it from an on-prem perspective. So that's sort of explaining all these things. Again, it's a busy chart. I don't want to, overwhelm you with all the nuances, but, again, what we try to do is take this complexity and make it simple coming over here. What I have done is I've already created a couple services. So I've already created a Google Cloud Interconnect. I already created an express route. I don't have to do that with AWS. I'll show you what that looks like. And I have created a fast connect. We might not get to that yet. So the first thing to do if I'm going to connect to the clouds is I need to create something on my network. Because remember, we already have the connections up and running to the clouds, right? That's what we're talking about. So I have to go create this thing called an MCR. What is an MCR, Matt? MCR is a Megaport cloud router or multi-cloud router. And it's just a router that sits in our network that can speak BGP and simple routing protocols. So I'm going to pull it up in Seattle. I can choose a red or blue zone. Just nuance there, red and blue zone or auto. Auto means I'm going to pick the lowest or highest inventory I have of that device. If I want device diversity, if I'm going to put an MCR in Seattle and I want device diversity, I put one in a red device and one in a blue device. It gives you not only device diversity, but maintenance window diversity. So that's the benefit. I'm going to go choose red. Let's go evocative, hit next. I'm going to go pick a small MCR. I don't have to, since this is a testing environment, I'm going to give it a name. One thing I do want to note is we do have different speeds. These speeds are growing, right? And I'm going to go month to month. One other item on the speeds is fundamentally this is the aggregate throughput. So if I have 1 gig, if I have 2 1 gig links going to an MCR, what happens there is if both 1 gig links are hitting the MCR and you have a 1 gig MCR, there's policing happening if traffic is hitting at the same time. If there's no traffic hitting at the same time and it's going unidirectional, you will get 1 gigs of throughput. So again, it comes down to your traffic flows on that MCR. So we, as solution architects, guide our customers through that. One thing we include in our MCR is our default AS, that is a Megaport AS. 90% of the time you're using the default AS, or 99% of the time you're using that default AS. It is something you need to set up BGP with the service, or with the cloud service providers. I'm going to go ahead next. Here it is. We're ready to go. I'm going to go add it and order, and then order now. So there we are. It's turning up. And now what I can start doing is adding the CSP connections. I'm going to add the GCP connection first. So like I said, I've already created that connection, and it defines. I didn't go through how it should. What it defines is, it creates this thing called a service key. So I'm going to go grab it. You define a location, etc. I'll show you what that looks like when we go consume it. So I go grab that partner interconnect that I've already created. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to go to Google. I can do it two ways. I can hit it here or here. As soon as I use this, it goes away. So I'm going to show you both ways. I'm going to go hit Google Cloud connection. I'm going to go put that key in there. It validates it. And it says, where do you want to go? So one thing to note is you'll see that this is not saying it's still giving you a choice. It doesn't matter. We can pick anywhere. I'm going to pick Seattle. You'll see a difference when we use Azure, which is the next one we'll go over. MB test. Give it a name. I'm going to give it a 50 meg service. I'm going to give it a minimum term. I'm going to hit next, add VXC, and order. So we're going to let that provision, I got to order now. There is another step we have to do. We have to go actually accept it in GCP's environment, right? So you're not done yet. I'm just going to let it deploy. Look, it's deployed. And more likely not, I'm going to have to come over here. I'm going to go look at all my interconnects. And there it is. It's waiting for service provider. So I have to go view instructions. So what does that mean? I just need to come in here and go waiting for service provider, and I have to accept it. Well, it's not done yet. I could pre-activate it, but I'm going to let it sit there and ruminate. So there is another step we have to do. I'm going to come back and go hit another connection. So I'm going to go hit plus connection because again, I've already created a express route over here. I have a service key. I'm going to go grab it. Plus connection. See how that toggle went away? I'm going to go hit cloud. I'm going to go hit Azure. I'm going to put the service key. There's going to be some differences here. I've already defined an Azure where. So it's giving you, again, Azure gives you two, number one, and in Azure, when you create that service key, you're defining the speed and the location. So you've already said in Azure, I've already said I'm using Seattle as the NNI. So I'm going to use private peering because that's what I want. I'm going to go hit next. Yes, I want no minimum term. I'm going to give it a name, MB test. It also sucked in the speed because I defined that in Azure. Hit next. Next, add VXC. And we're going to order. Let that go, order now. And we're at 14 minutes. Let's see if we can get one more try to get one more done. I'm free. So now I'm going to show you the difference of AWS. So AWS, you don't create a key. You go in and get their account key, right? So again, it's just how the CSPs have defined how their system works. So with AWS, you're going to come in and hit plus connection. You're going to go hit cloud. Amazon Web Services. Again, we already talked about there's these two things. What do we do, Matt? Hosted connection. We're just going to get the hosted connection. It just makes most sense, gives you the most flexibility. Let's go find a country. I am in the US, so I can define, and I am going to go pick Seattle. You're going to ask me, what are these? Maybe you're like, hey, what are these red and blue things? They're just diverse network interfaces that give between us and the cloud service provider. That allows us to give device diversity between us and AWS and GCP and everyone else. So I'm going to pick the Westin building here as a blue. I'm going to go hit next. I have to give it a name. I'm going to give it a rate limit. Again, that's the speed. Where did that come from? Came from here, right? Again, that's how they productized it. Monthly rate. I don't have to put a service level. I'm going to go by this screen. We're going to have to fill it in later, but I'm going to go by it, and I'll show you why. And you're going to put the account ID. That's the most important thing, because what I'm doing now is I will build an express route a direct connect in the AWS portal by putting that account key. Hit next, add VXC, order, and then order now. So that's going to start deploying. And, oh, look. All right, so NB test seems to be ready, but I still have to do something because I don't think I have BGP up. Let's go look. I don't. Why is that? Well, reality is, remember I told you we had to go accept it. Let's go see what status it's in. Activation needed. I activate it. It's that simple. So now that it's provisioned, the APIs are talking, I just activate it. I'm going to accept it. And that would be the last step to get BGP up and running. So I'm going to go back over here, go to services, and see what's going on there. Let's go see what the Azure connection is doing. So I'm going to refresh our screen. Oh, look, the Azure connection seems to be working, or at least we've communicated. So let's see what status we're on. Guess what? We had these IP addresses. These IP addresses got pulled in. So part of the automation, we've pulled in these BGP peering IP addresses. I didn't do anything. They just came in, and that's part of the API flow. So it's pulled in this information from Azure. We have all these IP information. And by the way, we have BGP up. That fast. So Azure is really fast because what it does is it auto negotiates the VLANs and BGP peering information, and we're up and running in a minute. Let's go look at GCP. BGP is still down. I'm sure at some point it will figure it out. And let's go get started back on the AWS connection. So I have to go. So the AWS connection just sitting there. Come on. Oh, but so I've communicated. So guess what that green means? It means I can see it over here. And there it is. It built it. So I have to go in. There's a couple more steps with AWS. I have to go click on this. I have to accept it. Confirm, because and I have to create this virtual interface. I'm going to go private. I'm going to call it MB test, because everything's got an MB test name. My account, direct connect gateway. I have a direct connect gateway here. Where is it? There it is. We'll let it define the VLAN on the MCR side. So this is the MCR side. And they're going to want to know our AS number. Well, where is that? It's right here. So if we go to details, here's our AS number. We go grab the AS number. So that's the AS number of my side. Go fill that in. Create virtual interface. let's go back and see what we're doing over here. So let's go look at GCP, see if GCP is up and running. BGP is up. So we have BGP up and running on Azure and Google. If we go look, again, we didn't do anything with the IP addresses. It sucked in those peering IP addresses from the automation, right? So we've done that piece. These are IP addresses that are just your standard IP addresses that are non-routable. It's your, well, not route, it's your private IP addresses that are in their own scheme. So let's do one more. Why not? Not sure why AWS is being a problem. Let's try it again. MB test. Direct Connect Gateway. Let's go find it. Go put in the AS number. Took it that time. So what happens now is once we created that, guess what? Here are all the IP addresses on Amazon. So it creates it once we create the Direct Connect Gateway. So what we have to do is we have to go in and put this in the MCR. So I'm going to go grab this IP address. We're going to go back to the MCR, hit the cog button, go to AND, and I got to go put this IP address in. I'm not done yet because I got to go hit this thing called add BGP. All it does is give you that first IP address, and now we're just copying and pasting. So we're taking your router. This is the Amazon side, so I got to go grab this, copy, paste. You got to get rid of that. You got to go grab their AS number. Where's that? It should be right here. Because remember, this is the Amazon side. This is my side. So it's going to say, what's the AS number? And you have to do the BGP password. They're one of the few people that do that. So we go grab that password, copy it, and paste it. Add. Then I gotta go save. So after a little bit of time, in theory, we should get, that shouldn't, let's go make sure it's got the IP addresses, or did it not take? Maybe I was too impatient. That happens a lot. Yeah, I was too impatient. So let me just do it again. Sorry for that. It's Friday morning and I'm excited for the weekend. So I'm going to go back in, that back in, BGP. Sorry for doing this again. It's my Friday morning non-coffee. Grab the AS number, copy. BGP password right here again, just in case you didn't want to know, and just in case you want to do this for the second time. Got to get rid of that. Add, save. In theory, that should work. So there we are with the 3. I will show you one more. We have 4 minutes left. I'm not going to get the BGP up and running, so I'm going to go cloud. I'm going to click OCI. I'm going to go over here. I've already created an OCI connection. I can show you what it looks like. It's just I'm gonna go copy that. Notice that we're defining specific, the difference with OCI is they specifically, I am in San Jose. So guess what's gonna happen is when I put that in here, much like Azure, it's only gonna give me San Jose. So when you go into OCI, you define where you are, and that's where the NNI, that's how the NNI is picked. So it's just, again, a nuance on how they do it. And the test rate limit, their lowest is 1,000. I'm going month to month. It's a bit more money because I'm bringing it down to San Jose from Seattle. I'm not going to fill in that information. Add VXC and order. And order now. So that shows you what'll happen is the Oracle will come up already, because guess what you've done? I've already done this. When you create the Fast Connect, you're defining the IP addresses. It's part of the workflow when you create the Fast Connect. So you can just define the peering information. So you put in your IP address, your side, the Oracle IP address, and then your AS number, which is here. All I did is copy and pasted it. So that is how it's all done. And we have 2 minutes left. It doesn't look like we have any questions. I hope you guys had a great time. Hopefully I didn't confuse anybody. Sometimes to do that, but if not, have a great weekend. And please consider using Megaport for any of your connectivity needs, not only to the cloud, but to your on-prem data centers or your any other networking needs. We do a lot. I thank you for your time, and we can call the session done.